welcome back to another episode of Health Unfiltered. This week we are talking about one of my favorite topics, one of the most, I think, confusing topics on nutrition, and that is gut health. Gut health there's just so much to unpack, so I'm hoping in the next 10 to 15 minutes, I'll be able to give you the basics on how to tackle your gut and help heal, manage, or optimize your gut health. So I have a little presentation for you guys today, and if there's any questions or concerns, please feel free to leave them below and I will get to them as they come in. So let's get started. Today, like I said, we're talking about gut health, and it seems like all of a sudden everyone is talking about gut health. It's very trendy. There's lots of products out there. We're talking about being bloated or leaky gut. But what does gut health actually mean? In short, our gut is our digestive tract, and it's going to help us break down and absorb the nutrients we need to function. Very simple. But it can get a lot more complicated than that. Our gut microbiome consists of about 200 different living species, both beneficial and harmful, bacteria, viruses, fungi, and everyone's gut is different. So what you have may be different than what your mom has and what your friend has. So you can see how this is not a one-size-fits-all approach. When, you could have leaky gut, your mom could have leaky gut, your friends could have leaky gut, but the intervention is going to be different. So it's very important to find out what exactly is going on in your gut and then target that individually. And research shows that having a large variety of gut bacteria, good gut bacteria, may reduce the risk of diabetes, IBS, and other health conditions. And I truly believe this. And as we go through these slides, you'll be able to see how all of this is connected. Now, I want to dig a little bit deeper and touch on the gut-brain connection. So most of us are taught that digestion starts in the mouth. Well, it actually begins in the brain. And just a very black and white basic example of this is, have you ever looked at a piece of cake or a piece of pizza or a steak and then just started salivating? Your body just started releasing enzymes, and digestion started right there before you even put that food into your mouth. Or maybe you got into a fight with your partner, your significant other, your best friend, and then all of a sudden you just have an upset stomach, you've lost your appetite. Again, a prime example of how stress affects our gut. And did you know that 95% of the serotonin, which is one of our feel-good transmitters, critical for central nervous system development and function, is produced in the intestines? So if we're not, having an optimal space for our gut to produce all these things, we are not going to feel 100%. So I hope you can begin to see why gut health is so important and how it's a full spectrum approach. Gut health is not just keeping a healthy digestive system or a regular bathroom schedule. It affects our mind, our mood, our energy, our skin. So next, I want to highlight some of the telltale signs of dysbiosis. So what is dysbiosis? If you've never heard this word before, it is just a fancy way of saying that there is an imbalance of the good and bad organisms in your gut. And this can cause a wide range of symptoms and health conditions. So we're going to go through these. Don't overthink them. If you have the occasional bloating or loose stools, don't start jumping to conclusions and self-diagnosing. But also, if this sounds like your day-to-day, then we're on the right track to healing. So are you always gassy? Like always. When you're not eating, when you're eating, not just after you ate a big slice of pizza or something out that you don't typically eat, but are you always gassy? Are you consuming a high sugar diet? So take a zoom out of your diet and look at what you're eating. Are your meals balanced, or are you kind of snacking all the time? And most of the time when we reach for snack foods, those are going to be high in sugar, they're going to be highly processed and not the greatest for our gut. Bloating. And I'm not talking about you eat a meal and you bloat. Bloating is necessary. Bloating happens, especially for us women when it's the time of the month. That is natural. But when you bloat, do you feel and look pregnant after a meal? And be very honest with yourself. I know that us women can say, oh, I feel pregnant, I look pregnant. But genuinely, is your stomach getting really hard and not going down for hours and hours after a meal? Is this happening every day? That is going to be a sign that something's going on. Do you have chronic fatigue? This is something that often gets overlooked and kind of assigned to another bucket, I guess you could say. Oh, you're not getting enough sleep, which could definitely be a part, and that ties into gut health as well. But are you chronically fatigued? And if that's the case, are you eating all of the right foods and the healthy foods, and you're still feeling like you're just tired all the time? Something to look at. Blood and stools. Again, if this happens once in a while, if you know you have a history of hemorrhoids, then we can rule this out. But if you're having blood and stools and you have no idea why, this is telling me that there's something going on in the digestive tract, and we really need to figure it out. Constipation. Are you constipated all the time? I tell people, I want my clients going to the bathroom at least once a day. Some people go more, and that could be complete opposite. Are you constantly having diarrhea? So either or is not going to be great. But if you're having a regular bathroom schedule, then maybe your gut health is good. But then maybe you're having chronic fatigue and you're also having anxiety and depression. So you may still be regular, but there's still a imbalance in the gut. So constipation is something, and this is one of the most common ones, honestly. People come in, they're like, I cannot go to the bathroom. And there can be some very simple fixes to that. If it's just an imbalance of maybe you have not enough good gut bacteria, we can feed that and grow it, and then problem solved. But it can also lead to more serious things. Cramping. Are you always cramping, like all the time? Muscle cramps, cramps in the stomach. This is something that's telling us, hello, there's something going on. Anxiety and depression, another huge one. And for me personally, this is where mine was stemming from. I was eating foods that I was intolerant to. I was eating foods that I was sensitive to. And it was manifesting in the form of anxiety and depression, really giving me a foggy brain. And so oftentimes, we have anxiety and depression, and I'm an advocate of mental health. So whatever you need to do to get your mental health back on track. But maybe it's your gut. Maybe you don't need an antidepressant. Maybe giving you that medication is going to hinder the gut further. So let's take a full spectrum look and figure out what you really need. If it is the medication, then by all means, let's get on it and get that healed, and then we can figure out anything else that's going on. But if you feel like maybe when you eat certain foods, maybe when you go out to drink the next day, you're anxious, you're depressed. These are all, just telling us that there's something wrong with the gut. And then the last one, which I'm sure many of us have experienced, but this could be a sign that there is a very, very big imbalance in the gut, and that's difficulty losing weight. If we follow these fad diets for years and years and years, not only are we wrecking our metabolism, but we're wrecking our gut. Because when you restrict, cut out, and add, and you're constantly going on this yo-yo back and forth, it's really going to throw your gut for it's going to give it a run for its money, to put it simply. So I think this picture does a really great job of illustrating what causes imbalances, and there are so many more things, but this is one of the biggest and some of the most common that I see. And I think it does a great job of showing those imbalances and irregularities in the gut and how everyday stressors can really affect the gut negatively, even if we are, like I said, eating all the right things, which I'll talk about a little more here in the next slide. We can still have all these external factors other than what we're putting into our bodies that can give us gut imbalances. And that just brought me up to another thing. It can be environmental factors. Are you exposed to mold? Are you using products that are just not agreeing with your gut? And some people can tolerate those things, I'm not saying that you have to clean out your whole house and go green and clean, but if you day after day are experiencing just feeling like you are suboptimal, then maybe we do have to take a look at those external things that we can control. Now, there are some things that we can't, like, are you getting exposure at the place that you work at to incense and fake scents and all these things that are disrupting your gut? That is something that we can't control, but let's take into our hands the things that we can control so that we can try to get our gut up to 99.9%, and then the other 0.1% of things won't affect us as bad. So this next slide, talking about the gut, and this picture does the best job at illustrating how our gut actually works. So here's a picture of the tight junctions in our gut. And when our gut is healthy and it's working optimally, these help keep the toxins and all the other stuff from leaking into the bloodstream. But when we're constantly eating foods that we're intolerant to, or we're under a chronic state of stress or inflammation from maybe over-exercising, consuming too much alcohol, taking medications that we may not necessarily need, these weaken the tight junctions. And even medications that we do need, they weaken the tight junctions. So this can be causing those toxins and all the other stuff that we don't necessarily want leaking into the bloodstream to leak into the bloodstream and cause autoimmune diseases, inflammation, food sensitivities, deficiencies. And this is a lot of the times where I see my clients come and we test them for leaky gut. We test to see what's in their microbiome, which I will touch on here in a second. And they light up like a Christmas tree on their food sensitivity. And they're like, what are you talking about? I love all these foods. These foods are healthy. I have to cut all these out? Yes and no. It is not just a black and white answer. So if I get your food sensitivity test back and you are lit up like a Christmas tree, meaning that, eggs, chicken, steak, like all the good things and just more are illuminating. And I will preface this by saying a lot of tests just test for one marker. The test that we have here tests for IgG, IgA, and inflammatory markers. So this is telling me, are you having a true sensitivity to this one food, or is the gut just really permeable right now and it's letting everything leak into the bloodstream and we're just having sensitivities to everything? And that's usually the case. There is always that one or two foods that we have to cut out for the rest of time. But not often is it foods that people actually eat. Gluten is a big one that I see causing some inflammation, and sometimes once we go through this and we heal the gut, you can add it back in, and that is the main goal. It's finding out what is the root cause, and I'll give you an example. So for me, I was having some issues. I'm a dietitian, so I think that I eat very well, very healthy, very clean, if you will, and I was taking a medication that I felt I needed for, anxiety and depression. And once I started cutting out the foods that I was sensitive to for a small period of time, cutting out that medication, which I worked with a practitioner to do, my doctor, told him, I want to try this out. Let's see if I can get my deficiencies handled, my levels back, my hormones and my gut all straightened out, if this anxiety and depression goes away. And lo and behold, it did 8 months later. So I'm not going to tell you that healing your gut is an easy thing. It is not, but it is totally worth it. Because once you figure out what your triggers are, it's really easy to find your way around those and live your most optimal life. So again, back to the tight junctions. Again, I'm going to keep reiterating this. I think we can really start to see how this is all tied together and how the gut is really the root of health, both mentally and physically. So now that you've identified maybe some issues that you have, or now that we've gone through this, you've said, all right, these just happened to me, but it's really, the constant bloating, or it's really the constant constipation. You've identified what your issues are, so what can you do to help heal it? Number 1, no self-diagnosing. If you think that you have a gut issue, seek out professional help. You don't have to jump on this gut health, quick heal, fix program. I know that Beachbody just came out with one. Wonderful, great. But find a trusted healthcare practitioner that will help you heal your gut. These programs that are put out in bulk are kind of like a one-size-fits-all, very similar to kind of what I'm doing. And I think it's a great, what I'm doing here, giving you just general information to help you be aware of what's going on. And then you can go seek out a practitioner that can help you individually. So those programs and information on gut health, if they're put out by credentialed professionals, can be wonderful for helping you identify what your problems might be and getting you on the right track. But when it comes to actually putting down an intervention to heal your gut, please work with a professional. Do not do this by yourself. I couldn't even do it by myself. I needed someone to oversee me and test me for the right things and help me come up with an individualized protocol. Number 2, fiber. So sometimes this can be the answer. If there's not really any major issues, you just find yourself identifying with, the constant bloat, or the occasional bloating, the occasional constipation, the occasional diarrhea, you just feel like something's off. And then you look at your diet and you're like, I have no vegetables or no fiber in my diet. We add a little bit of fiber in, you start going regularly, boom, bam, we're done. So fiber is definitely a good place to start, making sure that you're getting at least 25 grams of fiber a day, split out however you'd like. I would veer on the side of caution when adding different fiber supplements, just because that may not work for your gut. I personally like inulin. It works great for me. I add it to my coffee in the morning when I do have coffee, and sometimes to like smoothies and things like that, just to help get my fiber in. But I do like consuming vegetables at every meal. And a lot of clients I've talked to say, well, vegetables makes me feel bloated. That's what's giving me that gut issue problem. So that is when I would tell you, okay, clearly your gut cannot handle these healthy foods that are good for you. You're still getting inflammation. So they're not benefiting you right now. Let's test and see why. Let's get down to that root cause, why you can't digest those vegetables. And then we'll start adding them in slowly. Pre and probiotics. This is one of the most, how can I say this? So often I see probiotics, gut health, probiotics, bloated, probiotics, can't go to the bathroom, probiotics. But what if I told you, let's go back to what I first said, that probiotics are not a one size fits all. There are probiotics that are made of some of the most common gut healthy bacteria, which can help a lot of us, but not everyone is going to get the same benefit from the same probiotic, which is why it is so important to test your gut. Find out which good bugs are in there, which bad bugs are in there, and how we can keep from feeding the bad ones, because I may take a probiotic with tons of lactobacillus, which may help feed my good gut bacteria, but you may take it and it may feed your bad gut bacteria. So why would I just want to put you on that before I found out what was going on? So pre and probiotics in the form of the capsule or spore form or anything like that, we really want to test and see what your gut is made up of so that we can find a probiotic that fits for you. It's going back to like just the Western style medication. You don't just say, oh, I'm depressed, oh, my stomach hurts, oh, I have this infection, and they say, oh, antibiotic for you. They find out which one is going to treat your specific strain and give you that. So same thing with pre and probiotics. Then stress management. This is always easier said than done. We need to work on managing the stress that we can control. So making sure that we're not just constantly stressing ourselves out, whether that be mentally or physically. Are we over exercising? Are we spending 2, 3, 4 hours in the gym a day? Which in my opinion is completely unnecessary. We want to get our movement in, but alcohol does put, sorry, I'm reading my next thing here, but exercise does put stress on the body, which is needed. But if we're keeping our body under this constant state of stress, it's not going to allow us to heal our gut. Number 5 is stop consuming the foods that you're sensitive to or that cause you inflammation. So if you know you get bloated every time you eat a piece of pizza, then stop. And I'm not telling you like now you're going to come after me and say, oh, she told me to stop eating pizza. Find out what those food sensitivities are for you. Find out what inflames you and work to healing that gut. I'm not telling you have to cut pizza out forever, but clearly that's causing an inflammatory response right now. So let's figure out where that inflammatory response is originally coming from and how we can still have the foods that we like and heal the gut. For me, I know that let's see, what do I eat every time? And I'm just like, why? Oh, I absolutely love like protein bars, plant-based protein bars, regular protein bars, but whey just does not agree with me. I cannot have it. I don't like the way I feel on it. Even though it's healthy and providing me with protein, my stomach just gets so bloated. So I don't eat those things because I know it causes inflammation. Maybe that is not the root cause, and I'm still working on getting to whatever that is, and maybe it is. But testing and not consuming foods that we're sensitive to or causes inflammation is going to be one of the first places we can start. And then one of the last things is limit or avoid alcohol and non-essential medications. And this is a big one that I see when people come to me and they're diagnosed with leaky gut. The first thing I tell them is we have to cut out alcohol for these next X amount of days, however long we're taking to kind of initially heal this diagnosis of leaky gut, and just doing this trial and error to find out what this is caused by. And alcohol, I know it's fun, I know it's great, but there are no benefits to it. And when we're trying to heal the gut, that needs to be eliminated because it's just gonna cloud and further cause us looking for this root cause for a longer period of time, if that makes sense. So we need to limit that and limit non-essential medications. And what I mean by that is let's try to limit or avoid Tylenol, Advils, even supplements that we don't need to be taking, because if you keep putting this in your body, your gut is going to need to break it down. And if you keep giving it things that are causing it to become permeable, we're just in this hamster wheel over and over and over and over again. So I know it's a lot. I know it's not easy, but it is so, so worth it. So now, what are some things that you can expect once you heal your gut? And again, gut health is completely individualized, and working with a professional and conducting further testing can help or confirm any of the issues that you're having. But once you get to that root cause and you start to heal, these are the things that you can expect to come back into your life. Maybe you don't even remember having these things because it's just been so long that you've been living in a fog, but you can expect to have better mood. You can expect to have your hormones balanced. And a lot of this, maybe we need to balance the hormones to get the gut back, or maybe we need to heal the gut so that we are having the correct absorption of nutrients to have balanced hormones. Reduced pain and inflammation is a huge one, and something that I really focus on with my athletes and anyone who's in a performance-based sport. Stronger immune system. I can speak to this. I can speak volumes to this. When everyone was getting sick here during flu season, and I was keeping in my fermented foods and keeping my gut health optimal, I was able to fight through that. Enhanced stress resilience. Once you heal the gut, again, we talked about serotonin being produced in the gut. You're going to produce that. You're going to feel good. You're not going to have as much stress. And if you're eating a processed, quick, heated up in the microwave diet, you're not going to feel great. Seasonal allergies, those are going to be reduced. Lower risk of disease, that's going to be reduced. Improved cognitive function, 100%. Gut-brain connection. Your gut, people start to call your gut your second brain, but it's really more like the first brain. I mean, our gut just controls everything. So once you start healing the gut, you can expect to feel 100% from just all around. And one last thing I have to say to you guys is take care of your gut, and your gut will take care of you. And if you need help doing that, or if you need help pointing yourself in the right direction, feel free to reach out to me. Reach out to the facility here, Infinity Sports Institute in Miami, and we will definitely help you get on the right track to healing your gut. We can get that testing done. We can see what you need, see what you don't need, and we can really formulate an individualized protocol for you and your gut. That is all I have for you guys this week. I will see you next week on Monday. If you have any questions, any topics that you'd like to see covered in the future, please feel free to leave them below, and I will get back to you and cover those topics as well. So have a great week, you guys. Thank you so much for joining me.